Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Wild Rift patch 5.0b. These are the official patch notes for the new patch coming to Wild Rift. A lot of changes in this patch, a lot of changes to do with the champions that have been very powerful for quite some time, and also a lot of changes to some champions that are not so strong, not so popular. We also got the rework of Wukong in this patch note, so we'll be taking a look through that. If you play Wukong on PC League of Legends, it's kind of similar to how he works over there now, so that is quite exciting. But yeah, a lot to go through. There's been about 3 weeks since patch 5.0a, so we've kind of been a little bit stable in terms of the meta, in terms of who's strong. Hopefully that will change tomorrow when this patch comes out. Let's take a look and let's see what Riot is cooking behind the scenes. We've got an event together under the Crescent, brand new event that they're adding to the game. I have to say that the events so far have been really good this year. You know, you got the companion event, which is really good. The Lunar New Year events were really good. You got a bunch of free rewards, and it was nice to see more than one event being run at once. I think there's like 4 or 5 events being run at the same time at the moment, which is great. You know, I hope they keep up with this consistency throughout the rest of the year, because events bring people to the game and wants them to log in more to get rewards. We've also got Arena still running as well, with Arena Season 1 that also has an event happening. So a lot of things are happening with the events. Hopefully more events will be coming out with this one as well, obviously. All right, champion changes. First up, Akali. The armor per level is going up by 0.7 per rank, so it's not too much. You're going up by maybe 7 to 8 armor maximum rank, just a little bit of extra armor to Akali. She does struggle a bit against some AD bruisers, especially in the Baron lane. That's why she most of the time gets played in the mid lane. This will help her a lot more in the Baron lane, because you're against a lot more AD champions up in the Baron lane. So this is quite nice, and also the extra armor will help a little bit in the mid and the late game. And also her passive is getting buffed, so you can see the empowered base damage. So this is when you're using ability, you run outside of the ring, you get that your passive, which allows your blade to kind of spin, and your next auto attack deals a bunch of extra damage. If you know how to play Akali, then you know that this passive can be very strong if used correctly, especially during the laning phase. You can see that the base value has gone up, the damage per level has also gone up, and the ability power ratio has gone up. So a lot has been buffed for the passive to Akali. Again, I think this is more to do with Akali's laning phase. I think this helps a little bit with the laning phase, and also the passive really helps during the laning phase, because this helps you trade a lot better during the laning phase. But also it allows you to, you know, perform extremely common combos in the late stages of the game, and it can also help you do a little bit of extra damage if you're looking to jump in and do a lot of damage. That's also that as well. But yeah, overall some nice buffs there to Akali. Aurelion Soul, they're not nerfing too much with Aurelion Soul. They're only really nerfing the amount of bonus damage that you get from the breath of light, his passive. They're also nerfing a little bit of the ability power on the third ability. They're not nerfing his first ability, which I think is fine, because that's his main source of damage. But as you can see here, the bonus damage that you get from Breath of Light is normally deals 3% of the target's maximum health every 100 Stardust. Now it's only going to be 2.5% of the target's maximum health for every 100 Stardust. So you need to collect more Stardust now to deal more damage to enemy champions that have a lot of maximum health. They obviously thought the Aurelion Soul was doing too much damage to these champions, and I think that's also because items like Liandry's get built, Rylai's get built as well, and these items also do really well against tanks, because tanks don't really have a lot of mobility. So you're just standing there using your first ability, doing a lot of single target damage. So this is going to nerf it a little bit. And as you can see, the threshold execution of the third ability, that's also been nerfed ever so slightly. You can see that the normal threshold is 5% plus 2.6% for every 100 Stardust, but now it's 2.1% for every 100 Stardust. So again, it's just making your farming of Stardust now more worth it. You know, you want to be collecting the Stardust as much as possible now to get these benefits back up to where they are kind of now. And then, like I said, the third ability, the damage per second, the base value is not really going down too much, but the ability power ratio is going down by 10%. So you're not going to be getting too much damage from your third ability. Your third ability, in my opinion, is not really used too much for damage anyway. I mean, it's nice to get a little bit of extra damage, but that's normally for the crowd control and also allow you to collect more Stardust when you're clearing minions. Most of the time, this is just used for like crowd control in general, your main source damage, your first ability is still unchanged, and I still think Aurelion Sol will be completely fine in the next patch. Dr. Mundo, I mean, not surprised here that Dr. Mundo is getting nerfed. Obviously, it has been quite strong now with the buffs to Heartsteel and also Titanic Hydra. You can see most of the nerfs that he's getting to his second ability and his third ability is all to do with his bonus health. So you can see the bonus health ratio here going down from 7% down to 5%, and the same here, 7% down to 5%. So when you're stacking Heartsteel and when you're building items like Warmogs, Titanic Hydra, all these items that give you a lot of bonus health, you're not going to be able to do as much damage now with your second and your third ability. The base values are still the same, so I still think Dr. Mundo will most of the time could be completely fine. You're losing out on quite a bit of damage, I think, with going for when going for items like Heartsteel and stacking bonus health, because from 7% down to 5% might not seem like quite a lot, but when you're racking up like 2,000, 3,000 bonus health, you know, that does add up to quite a lot of damage nerf in the end for Dr. Mundo. So yeah, some decent nerfs here to Dr. Mundo. This is probably the scariest change and the scariest buff, I think, in this whole patch. And probably for quite some time, to be honest with you. Look at these numbers here. Gragas, I mean, Gragas already has quite a lot of one-shot potential anyway. But now the second ability, the AP ratio going from 75 up to 90%. Body slam, the damage going from 70% up to 80% ability power. And the ultimate, the explosive cast, going from 70% up to 80% ability power. So the ability power that you're building with Gragas is going to mean that your abilities are going to be doing so much more damage. It's disgusting. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like 15% here, 10% here, 10% here. Like pretty much every single one of his abilities are being buffed. You know, his first ability still does a lot of damage anyway. His passive for his healing is still, you know, really, really good. Not only does this mean you're going to do a lot of damage to champions, especially with your combo now, but also this helps you quite a bit when clearing through the jungle. So that's also going to help out with Gragas. But yeah, this is a really, really scary buff. I think Gragas is going to be extremely powerful in the next patch with all these AP ratio buffs. I don't know what they're thinking with this, but we'll see how things go. This is very, very scary though, I have to admit. Karma, after receiving buff after buff after buff for probably the last few months, she's now getting nerfed. So she's going from the base damage is going down for the first ability, the normal standard version of the first ability, and also the empowered version. The base damage is also going down. Note that the ability power ratio is not going down at all. It's just the base damage, which is normally going to nerf her early game. This is mainly to do with that, because obviously when you build ability power, the damage numbers in the later stage of the game is not going to mean, you know, too much, especially because the percentages are, you know, the same anyway, so it doesn't really mean too much. Again, it's all to do with the base value. Karmas always max their first ability first, so you're normally getting this extra 310, 190 damage quite early on into the game. That obviously being nerfed with the base damage means that Karma early game is not going to be as powerful as what she was before. Then empowered slow, instead of being 50% at every single rank, it's now 42, 45, 47, and 50. So a little bit of nerf on the slow. And then to compensate that, the third ability, the cooldown is going down. But to be honest, no one ever uses Karma's third ability anyway. Everyone plays Karma as a burst damage support. You know, no one builds Karma as an actual support. So yeah, them buffing the third ability doesn't really mean too much. I mean, it's just a nerf overall. This is just a nerf, and that's pretty much it. Katarina base health going from 570 to 600 is quite nice for her. She definitely does struggle during the laning phase because she can't really jump in and trade as often. She can't really do too much. The extra base health just means that she can stay in lane a little bit longer, maybe farm a few more minions. And then the damage on the third ability is also going up ever so slightly, just the base damage going up a little bit. But again, the attack damage and the AP ratio is not going up too much, so Shumpo doesn't really change too much. It's just to do with the base HP. That is the big thing here, with going from 570 up to 600, which 30 HP might not seem like a lot, but it's quite a lot during the early game. So this will definitely help Katarina's early game out a lot. Lucian buff, this basically does nothing at all. This is like one of the weirdest buffs I think I've seen in quite some time for Lucian. This doesn't really do anything at all. They say that like Lucian's been fallen off to the mid and late game. Yes, because that's how the champion works. You know, Lucian has always been a champion that has really oppressive early game, really strong early game, but does fall off to some of the hyper carries during the mid and the late game. So that's completely, you know, understandable. So what they're doing to change this, or to make him a bit stronger in the mid and late game, is buffing the cooldown of the second ability, which is the last ability that you max. So you're actually never going to be feeling this effect, or even this effect till like level 15, for example. Like this 1.5 second buff here from 10 seconds down to 8.5, you're not going to feel this until level 15. Because you max your first ability, then your third ability to get the cooldown on your third ability, and then your second ability. So by the time that you've maxed your second ability at level 15, like, the game's already over. Like, the game's already over at that point, basically. And then they're buffing his damage by like 15, like base damage by 15. But again, this base damage buff from 210 up to 225, again, you're not going to feel this until level 15. So this is like the most pointless buff I think I've seen for quite some time. I mean, hey, heck, if you get to level 15, then this is actually really, really good, because the damage doesn't really mean too much. I mean, it's not your main damage source anyway. The big difference is the cooldown, because one big thing with Lucian is when you use your third ability, every single time that you proc more of your passive, your double hit, then you can lower the cooldown of your third ability. This being on lower cooldown means that your combos can come up more often, and you can use your passive more often as well. So this is quite nice. But again, you're not feeling it until level 15. So yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to me. But yeah, there you go. Lucian buff. Yay. Cool. Nice. Renekton buff again. Base health on Dominus goes up at later stages of the game. Level 5 and level 10. Sorry, level 9 and level 13, or whatever the ultimate numbers are that I can't remember off the top of my head. Damage per second as well on your ultimate is also going up ever so slightly in terms of base damage at ultimate level 2 and ultimate level 3. The first version of your ultimate doesn't really change too much, so level 5 you're kind of useless still. But when you get your second ultimate, you're going to be a little bit more powerful. So it's just going to help Renekton a little bit during like mid and late game, to be fair. Yeah, you can see here, not been performing too well mid and late game. Like the weird thing about champions like Lucian and Renekton, they're not supposed to be good in mid and late game, or they're not supposed to be as strong in the mid and late game as some other Baron lane champions or other AD carries, because they are early game champions. There are champions that need to snowball, need to get ahead early to be able to stay up with the tempo of the game, because if they're even or if they fall behind, then they're so far behind, because these mid and late game champions that you play, like Renekton versus Jax, for example, Jax is always just going to beat Renekton. That's just how the champion works, and that's just what the game is in general, because these champions just don't have the kits and don't have the damage potential to be able to, you know, put up with like the hyper carries in the dual lane or the Baron lane split pushers, for example. But they're trying to buff it to make it a bit more viable. I mean, we'll see how that works, I guess. Samira buff. This is actually a really, really nice buff. I think this is going to be, yeah, this is going to be really, really nice. Really, really nice for Samira. So they've already buffed her like base health, her base attack damage. Her first ability got buffed. Her second ability also got buffed, I think, in terms of cooldown reduction. Now they're buffing her ultimate, but this is quite big. Movement speed reduction is normally 40%. Now it's gone down to 30%. So that means that you can move a little bit more freely when you're using your ultimate now, which is really, really nice. It means that you can catch up with some champions. But the big thing here is damage per shot. So damage per shot with your ultimate, every single time that you hit someone, you're doing damage like per second, or it might be less than per second, to be fair. I don't know the numbers exactly of how many times you actually do a shot for the full cast of your ultimate, but this damage per shot number is going up by a lot. Like, yes, it might be 5, yes, it might be 10. Like 5 and 10 might not seem like a lot, but again, this is damage per shot, and you're doing a lot of shots when you're doing your ultimate. You know, you're spinning around doing so many shots. So this is actually crazy. 5 damage buff here, and also 10 damage buff here, and also the AD percentage going up by 5%. I think this might make Samira a very, very scary dual lane carry. I mean, she's extremely difficult to play anyway, but this is going to make her very, very scary. Like, I'm excited to play her again, because I like playing Samira. I think she's a really, really fun, probably one of the most fun AD carries to play, just because of her play style and all her combos and everything that you can do. So that's quite nice. Set as well, another champion that has been performing extremely well in the Baron lane. Haymaker has been nerfed again, kind of same with Dr. Mundo. They're nerfing the the abilities that scale with maximum health or bonus health. Again, max grit stored. 50% of your maximum health has now gone down to 45%. Again, this is enough to the Heartsteel Titanic build, where you could build a lot of maximum health and deal more damage with your grit. Then the ultimate as well, you can see here, the ultimate percentage has also gone down for the bonus health of the target. So if the target has a lot of bonus health and you ultimate that target, then you're dealing more damage with your ultimate. That's not going to be the case anymore. I mean, you're still going to do a lot of damage, don't get me wrong. It's only 5% difference. But this is mainly to do with if you're ulting like a Dr. Mundo that has a lot of health, you're going to be dealing more damage, because the more bonus health the enemy champion has, the more damage you're going to be able to do. But you're going to be doing a little less damage now, but that's okay. I think set will be completely fine. I still think the champion will be good, with also the Heartsteel Titanic Hydra build. Trendemir buffing the first ability, which is actually quite a nice buff overall. The first ability, the passive, the attack damage increase, is going up by 5 at every single rank, which is really, really nice for Trendemir. Just allows him to just gain more attack damage throughout the game. And then the bonus health regeneration as well per stack of your Fury is also going up. Again, it's going up by like 0.5% at every single rank, which again is really, really big. This might mean that you actually max your first ability now on Trendemir to try and get the full value of getting more attack damage and the full value of the health regen. So I think this could be really, really good for Trendemir. We'll have to see how this works, but I think this could be a very, very good buff for Trendemir. And Urgot, this champion's not very good at all. Passive damage going up, and then the cooldown of your legs, when you auto attack with one of your legs, it goes on cooldown. Not too much changed at the first levels, but level 5 and level 10 it goes down. Level 15 also goes down by 0.5 seconds. So a little bit of change there just to make Urgot a little bit stronger. You can see that the attack damage ratio of the passive is also going up, and also the maximum health of the target as well has also been increased. So a little bit more damage there for Urgot. Oh yeah, and also the movement speed slowed down. This is actually pretty big for Urgot, because when Urgot's using his second ability, he wants to like run around the target as quick as possible, because when he's running around the target or moving around the target, he can proc every single one of his legs, so he can deal more damage with his second ability. It's kind of difficult at the moment because the movement speed slowdown is quite big, but that now being buffed a little bit, I think it's quite nice. Might mean Urgot might be a little bit more viable. And the last thing here is to Wukong. Note that this new Wukong rework is not going to go live until March 21st, which is a bloody long time away. We might not get the next patch until March 21st, which is basically a month away. So I'm not too sure if they're putting this in here because this is the last time that we'll see patch notes until that point. I'm not too sure how that's going to work, but we'll see anyway. Yeah, Wukong getting a rework. So the passive, there's a lot of big things here. Passive, so the crushing blows, so attacks applying marks on the enemy target and dealing bonus damage from the stacks. This is now gone. So that little area that you get around an enemy champion, excuse me, when it applies the stack, now doesn't do anything. That's been removed. Now he has a new thing called Stone Skin. So Wukong gains stacks of Stone Skin when he attacks enemy champions with basic attacks and abilities. Each stack grants him 10 to 18 armor and 0.7% maximum health regeneration every 5 seconds. And this also stacks up to 3 times. Now this is going to make Wukong extremely tanky in the Baron lane, because this number here, this 10 armor, you're going to be getting 10 armor when you auto attack or use an ability on an enemy champion. And this can also stack up to 3 times. So you're getting 30 armor basically in the early game if you can auto attack, use your first ability, or even use your third ability on an enemy champion. That is a lot of damn armor during the early game. Like, that is a lot. And not only that, you get like a huge amount of maximum health regeneration as well. So this is going to make him be a lot more, like, have a lot more survivability during the early game, and I think make him a lot stronger. This is all to do with like damage Wukong, and all to do with how strong Wukong in terms of like damage was. Now this is going to be more in terms of how tanky you can make Wukong, and how good he can be in terms of team fights and survivability, which I think this is actually going to ruin Wukong jungle. I don't think we're going to be seeing any Wukong jungle after this, because this passive was helping quite a bit with clearing through the jungle, but everything else now is, yeah, I mean, now you're getting armor, magic resist, and health regen, not going to help you clear through the jungle. And with all the nerfs that they received to Wukong jungle, this might just be the final killing blow really to Wukong jungle. First ability, they removed the health regeneration effect of the first ability because that's obviously now on the passive, but now the first ability has a new passive. So the golden staff has an empowered effect. I don't know what the empowered effect is, it doesn't say, on Wukong's basic attacks every 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds, Wukong basically gains an empowered attack, basically. Takedowns will reduce Golden Star's passive cooldown by 3 seconds, and the cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 3 seconds per level, and killing enemy champions will refresh its cooldown. The cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 3 seconds per level. Wait a second. The cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 3 seconds per level. Does that mean that every single time you level up, this is going down by 3 seconds? So does that mean that his passive is now going to be up like every single auto attack once you reach past level 5? That can't be right. I'm not too sure if I'm reading this wrong or if they kind of messed up a bit. Cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 3 seconds per level. Yeah, so per level. So every single time you have a level. Oh no, this is per level with your leveling of your first ability. So there's 4 levels in total. 3, 6, 9, 12. I mean, that's still like 12 seconds. So I forgot this is not the passive, this is the first ability. So basically every single time that you upgrade your first ability, the cooldown of the passive is going down by 3 seconds. So this basically goes down to 3 seconds when your first ability is level 4, which is kind of crazy to be fair. And then that basically means it refreshes the cooldown. Every single time that you use this ability, it refreshes the cooldown. Or every single time that you get a takedown, sorry, it refreshes the cooldown. So I'm not too sure what the empowering effect is, but this is, yeah, this might be kind of good. I'm not too sure if this might just be damage or something. I'm not too sure, but we'll see what that is. It's a new part to Warrior Trickster, the second ability. Now the clone can move with the joystick control and can mimic Nimbus Strike to dash. This is really, really nice. This is going to, again, help Wukong quite a lot because the following of the clone when you use your third ability is going to mean that you can just deal more damage again during the laning phase, and it's going to be really, really nice. And then obviously with this being the thing, they've now removed the multiple dashes to the same target on the third ability. But that's just because they added this in with the second ability. Yeah, overall, this could be really, really nice. This could be a really nice new passive on the first ability and also the passive in general. I think Wukong's going to be a really, really strong barrel lane champion. I mean, when this launches on the 21st of March, we've still got some way to go, but yeah, still pretty nice. And then we have Crown of the Shattered Queen. I hate this item. Honestly, this item is so unfun. It's actually disgusting. I mean, it has the shield anyway, which is kind of the same as the Banshee shield, which basically blocks the next hostile ability. So any sort of crowd control or anything that might be coming your way, that's basically gone. And on top of that, they also get the damage reduction. But now this damage reduction is being reduced from 70% down to 50%. That's pretty big. Will it do much? Probably not, to be fair. I still think this item will be built just because of the shield itself. That shield just being able to block any sort of CC coming your way is just so nice. So nice. So I think this is really, really cool. But yeah, overall, pretty nice change there to Crown of Shattered Queen. Note that there's no changes to items like Heartsteel or Titanic Hydra. I mean, the items I think are fine. I think it's just the kind of consequences, I guess, of not nerfing champions like Dr. Mundo and Set that had really, really good values for maximum health. So no other champion changes or no other item changes there. Then we have the new skins. We have the Nightbringer Kane, Dawnbringer Akshan, Dawnbringer Draven, Nightbringer Trendemir, Black Frost Renekton, and then the Battle Academia of Caitlyn, Jace, and Warden Nautilus. So overall, some really nice changes, I think, this patch. I think there's a lot of scary champions that might come out of this patch. Samira, I think, is going to be extremely scary. Gragas as well is also going to be very, very scary. And even Akali as well. I think for Akali mains, I think this could be really, really impactful. But yeah, that's everything. That's all of the changes coming on through for patch 5.0b. These changes will be live tomorrow, obviously, except for the Wukong change. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments. As always, thank you for tuning into the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.